Thanks for joining us today. We are joined by Lee at First to Protect. Lee is one of the managers we work with at First to Protect. First to Protect is one of the insurance companies we work with at Your Property Financial. First to Protect provide things like buildings and contents insurance, landlords insurance, that type of stuff. And today we're just going to be having a conversation with Lee in a bit more detail around the importance of buildings and contents, but also the importance of getting advice in this area. Thanks for joining us today, Lee.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. Good to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for joining us. So I guess firstly, just tell us a little bit about First to Protect. Who is First to Protect? And tell us a little bit about the company.
Yeah, well, so First to Protect, we were set up probably around about 30 years ago now, just specifically to look after financial services businesses and estate agents to ensure that their customers are correctly protected for their properties, really, for buildings and contents, be that an investment property or their own home. So we specialise in property landlords and tenants contents insurance. And over the years, what we've done is we've now designed our own products, which are underwritten by some major insurers in the UK. So we've got literally our comprehensive products that we have, underwritten by 4 large insurance companies, which gives us a really good footprint of cover. And as the market has kind of developed over the years, we've been able to expand that into some specialist areas because we've seen a lot of issues with flood areas, subsidence problems, people that maybe don't fit a standard policy, that got too much contents cover, too much contents themselves, or they've had issues in the past. So we're able to now place a lot more business than we probably were before.
Fantastic. I mean, as you say there's so many areas to it, isn't it? It's all the different insurance companies that you work with and how you can help clients. I mean, one thing we often say is about the importance of getting advice around your buildings and contents, because there can often be a perception of, I'll just go to a comparison website, or I'll just find the cheapest thing I can get, chuck that in, and we'll go with it. But as all things in life, the cheapest is often not the best. And actually, the comparison websites, albeit useful, aren't necessarily where you should be maybe taking your policy out. I mean, give us a little bit more idea of kind of the importance of getting advice nowadays, and how First to Protect works with the insurers to make sure clients get the best outcomes.
Yeah, absolutely. You're getting quite right there. I think there is this myth that home insurance is quite simple, and it's very easy to go online and do quotes yourself. But it is quite complex. When you start to delve into it, it's quite complex. Actually, you start to look at the different products. And there's no two products really the same. There's no two customers really that have got the same needs themselves. So, when we're talking to customers, we talk about all of the features within the products and kind of what would suit them, and tailor literally the products, what's in terms of the cover to that particular customer. And it can be very easy to be guided by price. And if you talk about comparison sites, and probably to use the full term, they're price comparison sites. So kind of what you're looking at is comparing each product on price alone, really, and drilling down from there. And buildings and contents, a grudge purchase for some people. You talk in the pub or in your chat about my product, my policy is only this, but we may not have the same requirements as that person down the road. So having a full conversation with someone who specialises in this area to talk about what you do or don't need, and giving you the options available is a great help. And kind of what we've noticed over recent years in a quite a price sensitive market is maybe a watering down of some of the products which are available in the market, and that can be to the detriment of the customers sometimes. And probably highlighted, I think, with an article which is in Which towards the tail end of 2024, which states some insurers paying between 75% down to 55% in terms of claims payout. So, that ultimately is, the ultimate test, I suppose, of an insurance product is that it pays when you need it to pay. And, if it's something which is, you haven't got right, or, there's not the cover in there in the first place, then, that's going to cause a backward issue for customers. And, we've seen, I suppose, with those kind of claim stats, it's either that the feature wasn't in the product in the first place, or the customer's gone on and not realised they potentially might need that element of cover within their policy and eliminated it. And so there's lots of areas where customers can get caught out if like excesses and limitations and restrictions, and then maybe looking at all the add-ons that are available as well to kind of make sure they've maximised their cover as well.
I think it's a really good point, and that's something I often talk to clients about, where they're looking at a policy which is drastically cheaper than the policy maybe I'm quoting, and there's an element of saying to the client, well, look, do your due diligence if you want to go down that road, but if something is a third of the price, in a very extreme example, do you think you're still getting the same level of cover? And actually, do you know all the terms and conditions of it? Do you know if they're actually going to pay out? The insurance company could be quoting you a premium, but also have a policy which has so many loopholes in it, you're just never going to get a payout. Which is then, what's the point of it? You better pay for something which is actually going to cover you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that leads into something we often hear in the industry. I know consumers hear this term as well, is where something is factor rated.
Yes.
And then just do you tell us a little bit about how the factor ratings work?
So Defacto are an independent body that rate financial services products ultimately. So we're Defacto rated. So all of our products meet a 5-star Defacto rating, which is the top level of rating that they do give. That just gives an element again of satisfaction to the customer that everything is included in there. There's no kind of hidden costs or hidden issues with things like excesses, where we've seen some horrific excesses on some of the online policies, for instance, or maybe some of the cheaper policies that you see out there, for claims like if you have an escape of water claim, for instance, potentially your excess will be slightly higher because that claim will be in terms of monetary wise probably a big loss. But sometimes there can be a voluntary excess tucked on top of that. So we've seen people that have had £1,000 excess, for instance, when they've gone to make a claim. So that can make they've saved a couple of £100 on their policy and end up paying £1,000 toward a claim. It really kind of doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, no, definitely. Lots of things there to consider. Okay, Lee. Well, thanks for giving us a brief intro to kind of who First to Protect is and the importance of getting advice. Thanks for joining us today on that.
You're welcome. Thanks, Paul.